good morning. Welcome to another episode of the Bureau of Technology Report. Today's episode, we're going to talk about...
Greetings and hello, and welcome to another episode of the Bureau of Technology Report. I'm Mr. Bureau. Let's get started.
Hey, greetings. I'm Mr. B. This is TinkerCad101, getting started. Let's get started. So let's quickly take a look at TinkerCAD and how it's set up so that it makes it a little bit easier for you as a user to start working. On the left-hand side up here, we have our TinkerCAD logo. So if you're working, you can click on that. It will send you back to your gallery scene here in your designs. Okay, now most of you guys may or may not have some designs already set up. They would all show up in here. In this case, mine's pretty full up. Yours most likely will be empty. To create a new design, you click here on Create, and it's going to bring you to the work area that you're going to use to look around in TinkerCAD. How do we do it? Well, let's take a quick look at what we've got going on here, okay? Up on top, this is our menu. This is the design name. If you want to change the name, simply click in here, type in the name, and then either hit enter or click away from it. It will save the name of the project, okay? So that'll be important later on when you get ready to export your project after you're done. Down here, some of the menu items that we have available going across. You have copy, paste, duplicate. So if you want to duplicate an object, not just copy, it'll delete, undo, and redo. Okay? Going across, we have showing notes. So if you want to add notes to your project, if somebody's working with you, you can collaborate using notes. You have the grouping, ungrouping, align, mirror, and I'm going to call it the magnet tool. They call it the cruise tool. This allows you to grab an object and apply it to any face of a shape that you got already on your work plan. I'll show you later on in another video. You have import, meaning you bring in a design, an STL file most likely, and place it onto the work plane. You have export, meaning you're done and you're ready to send it out to get printed. And then you have a send to, meaning you can actually send your design to somebody else to look at in a link format. Here you have the 3D design. We have the simulator lab. So after you get done with your design, you can actually try the simulator lab. As you can see here, what a simulator would look like using TinkerCAD, okay? And then you have brick design and block design and brick design. And then, of course, your stuff over here. I'm going to go back to the work plan. Now, that takes care of that part. Right here, these toggles all relate to the work plane. This allows me to view my object, okay? What I mean by that is when I place an object onto the work plane, I can view it from all angles. Front, left, right, top, bottom, whatever the case may be, okay? Now, the good part is the work plane here states to the front, always faces forward. So you're always understanding which way is forward or front facing you, okay? The home tab, when I click this, it tilts the board up a little bit. But as you can see here with the toggle, it's between top and front. This allows you to zoom, okay? If you want to zoom out, you just use the minus sign, the plus sign of the zoom in. I also have the perspective, meaning the flat side versus the 90-degree angles, okay, as you can see. So it just changes where the work plane is sitting as I rotate around it, okay? That's all it does. If I change it back, there we are, okay? And we're on good there. Now, as you see, I have an object on here, so I'm going to this. Work plane, if I decide to change the perspective of working on top, bottom, or one of the sides, it will automatically adhere to it. And then I click, and as you see, I'm from the bottom side looking toward the front instead of the opposite. Now, if I want to get back to the front, I can change it up again, or simply hit home and hit my top button and reset it and it will just be fine. Okay? And you're all set to go. Okay? Okay, so we got back to our blue work plane. We're all good. All right. Now let's take a look at the other two objects. We have the ruler, and we also have the notes tool. If you want to use notes, you can click on that, and those would be how you communicate with your partners that you're collaborating with when you work up here, when you invite them down to design the project. Okay, now that I have an object on the stage or the work plane, I can make some changes to my settings, first of all. If you choose to work in millimeters or inches, you make that right here. I choose to work in millimeters. It's easier for me. I can change the snap grade, meaning every time I move it, it's going to move 1 millimeter. Okay. If you look at the size of these squares, this is 1 centimeter. Each major square is 1 centimeter. Each smaller square is 1 millimeter. 10 millimeters for 1 centimeter. I can change how far it will move when I try to move it left or right. You can see that it's jumping 1 millimeter at a time. I can change that to a half, quarter, 0.1, or less if I even want to, or completely off. Okay? This way, if I try to move it, it would take a while for it, as you can see, to move across 10 millimeters. Okay? This can be more precise, especially when you're zoomed in, and you can get a better understanding of what you're trying to do. As you can see, right now I'm at half of a millimeter block. Okay? So those are your choices. All right? Now let's take a look at using the ruler tool. I click on this. I'm going to put it on the anchor, the white anchor to the front. So this will tell me the dimensions of my object as I'm working. If I resize it, it will automatically show me how big or small it is. Anytime I click on my object, it will automatically show me my size, right? So that will always be in place. And if I don't like the numbers, I can either resize it using the anchors and just pull, or I can simply type in numbers to make it different. I have 3 points of axis to rotate on. I can go this way. I can rotate it this direction. And I can also rotate it front to back. Okay? So if I bring it down and go this way, you'll see that here's my third rotation. Now, here's something, a neat trick, just in case you don't know. If I click and rotate from the inside on my object, you'll notice it automatically jumps and snaps to the individual lines here. But if I go outside the line, it will allow me to go anywhere I want in between those lines. So I could actually get exactly where I want, or I could type in a number if I want to. Okay? Now, if I screw up, I simply use the undo, and there it is. Okay? So it's undone. It's all back to flat. Now let's talk about properties for the object you're on. For box, I have a radius. I have steps. I have length, meaning I can change the length of the object, width, and height of it in here, or I can change it just by typing it in. Okay? So those are nice, helpful pieces. So these will help you with just that. And if I add other objects, you won't get those components. Okay? Now let's talk a couple things about these tools up here. The notes, if I were to write notes, that's this one. If I group objects, that's this one. Meaning I'm going to take two objects and put them together. I have to make sure that I select both objects and then group them. And as you see, it turns one color. And I have one object, as you can tell. If I screw up because one of the objects is too big or too small, I can ungroup them so that I can work on just that. Now, you notice it's still connected. That's because I got to click away and come back to it. Now I've got the single object. I can pull that out and then change its dimensions to do whatever I need to do, and then off and running. All right. If you have any further questions, check with your teacher, but that's a good overview on how to use TinkerCAD. This is TinkerCad101.